Over many years, Turkey has rarely faced a single front, instead constantly straining against multiple threats at the same time. Greek fighter aircraft over the Aegean Sea, missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles from the Middle East, Russian submarines in the Black Sea, and armed groups along the southern border. For Ankara, meaning Turkey's leadership, peace exists only when deterrence is strong enough.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. All right guys, we're going to be seeing a video today. This is a recommendation, and this is "Could Turkey stop a foreign invasion? Turkey's modern military arsenal." So let's see their modern arsenal and see if truly they can actually stop a foreign invasion. Do you think so? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. All right, so without further ado, please subscribe. And if you find this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also share your thoughts in the comment section. All right, so guys, let's jump in.
Over many years, Turkey has rarely faced a single front, instead constantly straining against multiple threats at the same time. Greek fighter aircraft over the Aegean Sea, missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles from the Middle East, Russian submarines in the Black Sea, and armed groups along the southern border. For Ankara, meaning Turkey's leadership, peace exists only when deterrence is strong enough. So let us take a look at how Turkey has prepared for that reality. As for decades, Turkish tank power has not been built around a single tank model, but rather a combination of platforms that have proven their reliability over long periods and upgrade programs designed to extend their combat life. With the Leopard 204 being the most important heavy tank force at present, prioritized for high-intensity confrontation scenarios, where strong firepower, solid protection, and technical stability are paramount. And although it is not the latest version of the Leopard 2, the 2A4 is still regarded as a dependable steel fist within the armored formation. Alongside it, the M60T Sabra is the tank most familiar to Turkish soldiers in actual combat, as through deep upgrade packages in armor, fire control systems, and night fighting capability, the M60T continues to be widely used in operations along the southern border, while the M60A3 still plays a significant role in area defense, training, and ready reserve forces. The Altay, the first domestically produced tank, is currently only in the early stages of initial induction, and serves more as a symbol of a drive toward defense self-reliance than as the present backbone of the tank force. And the Leopard 1 and the M48 Patton remain in auxiliary service, mainly for training, reserve roles, or as conversion platforms for engineering and recovery vehicles, reflecting that Turkey is not betting on a single new generation of tanks, but instead sustains its armored strength through common familiar platforms that are consistently ready for combat. If tanks are the heavy fist, then armored infantry vehicles are the forces that appear most frequently on Turkey's battlefields, as these are the platforms closely tied to patrol duties, area control, and cross-border operations that have taken place almost continuously for many years. The ACV-15 infantry fighting vehicle is the standard mechanized infantry platform, and with its tracked chassis, sufficient firepower, and ability to carry infantry safely, the ACV-15 has accompanied the Turkish military through numerous campaigns in northern Syria and Iraq.
This is really efficient.
Where infantry units require both mobility and direct fire support. While in asymmetric environments, the Kirpi mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicle has become a true survival vehicle, with its mine-resistant and ambush-resistant design, making it especially suited for roads saturated with improvised explosive devices, and turning it into a symbol of counter-terrorism operations that have lasted more than a decade. In the fast mobility
these are really great arsenal.
The BMC Varan and the Nural Ader Yalchin fulfill patrol, rapid reaction, and area control roles, being smaller than the Kirpi, yet more agile. And these 4x4 vehicles are seen in large numbers in mountainous and urban areas, while the Otokar Cobra remains a familiar choice for reconnaissance and light maneuver missions, and the PR's 6x6 and 8x8 platforms handle multi-role tasks ranging from troop transport to command and control. And finally, the M113 armored personnel carrier, although old, still serves as a reliable troop transport and logistics support vehicle. These are the vehicles most frequently seen on the battlefield, quietly carrying out the majority of the Turkish military's real-world missions. And in modern warfare, it is not always tanks or artillery that lead the way, as in many of the most dangerous areas. Combat engineers are the first to open routes, a role that is particularly critical for Turkey in prolonged border operations and environments saturated with mines and improvised explosives. Systems such as Unmanned are responsible for mechanized mine clearance, allowing advancing forces to move forward without trading soldiers' lives for manual probing, with the Kunduz armored bulldozer appearing immediately afterward to clear obstacles, breach barriers, and open supply routes under fire, and when terrain is cut by rivers or bridges are destroyed. The FNSS Samur armored vehicle launched bridge rapidly emplaces crossings to keep formations from stalling. Operating alongside combat engineers are recovery and repair units, where vehicles such as M48-based armored recovery vehicles and the MPG M4K 8x8 ensure that damaged platforms do not become permanent losses. And during long-duration operations, route clearance vehicles and the Poyraz resupply vehicle keep convoys and forward firepower operating continuously. As in many conflicts, combat engineers are often the first to enter and the last to withdraw, silent yet decisive in determining an entire force's ability to keep fighting. The majority of the Turkish military's daily activity does not take place on tanks or infantry fighting vehicles, but on light and multi-role platforms closely associated with patrol, reconnaissance, and persistent security duties, with the Utakar Akrep handling reconnaissance and rapid maneuver, well suited to confined terrain and immediate response missions, while armored ambulances ensure safe medical evacuation in ambush-prone environments. And although they receive little attention, these vehicles sustain more than 60% of the force's day-to-day operational tempo in the field. In any military campaign, logistics determine how long a force can fight rather than how powerful it appears on paper. And for Turkey, the military truck fleet forms the foundation of the entire land warfare system, with Isuzu military variants, MAN LX and F8X, and the BMC-5, carrying out most daily transport tasks, from troop movement and supply delivery to forward logistics support. While in the medium and heavy categories, the BMC-235-16P and BMC-380-26Z are frequently seen in convoys hauling ammunition, equipment, and large systems, particularly during prolonged operations, and the Mercedes-Benz Unimog continues to excel in difficult terrain where infrastructure is poor or has been destroyed. The BMC Acton fuel tanker family, water carriers, and heavy tank transporters ensure that frontline units are not interrupted in their operations, as without logistics, every weapon, no matter how advanced, ultimately becomes nothing more than scrap metal. In Turkish operational doctrine, artillery is not merely fire support, but a tool for controlling the tempo of the battlefield, where long-range, high rate of fire, and mobility determine whether ground forces can advance or are forced to halt, with the backbone of the artillery arm being the T-155 Fırtına, a 155mm self-propelled howitzer designed around a shoot, move, survive philosophy, allowing it to rapidly change position after firing and reduce the risk of counter-battery fire. A system that has appeared frequently in cross-border operations where artillery must operate close to the front line, while alongside it, the M52 and standard NATO towed guns continue to serve. And despite having been introduced decades ago, they remain useful for area defense, training, and medium-intensity fire support. And at a heavier tier, the M110 203mm, although no longer used regularly, still exists as a means to destroy hardened targets when required. In rocket artillery, the T-107 multiple launch rocket system covers the lower tier with advantages in rapid deployment and low cost. The T-12, 2 Sakarya, and Tiast Air G-230 extend range and accuracy, while the T-300 Kasırga enables deep strikes into the enemy rear. And at the top of the firepower ladder stands Bora, a short-range ballistic missile serving as a strategic deterrent, a layer of firepower that forces any opponent to think carefully before escalating a conflict. For Turkey, air defense is not only about protecting the sky, but also about preventing the adversary from seizing the initiative at the very start of a conflict. And in an environment where unmanned aerial vehicles attack helicopters and low-altitude strikes are increasingly common, Ankara has built a multi-layer air defense network that operates continuously even in peacetime, with at the missile tier Hisar A+ and Hisar O+ forming the backbone of the domestic air defense effort, designed to protect ground forces, bases, and critical infrastructure against low-flying aircraft, unmanned systems, and cruise missiles, where the key strength lies not in extreme range but in flexible deployment and tight integration with the command network, while the lower tier is handled by the ACV-30 Korkut, Sungur man-portable air defense systems, Stinger missiles, and Oerlikon 35mm and Bofors L/70 40mm guns, which directly counter unmanned aerial vehicles, helicopters, and low-flying targets. The most frequently encountered threats in practice, all tied together through a domestic radar surveillance and fire control network that turns individual launchers and guns into a unified system, with the Çelik Kuba, or steel dome, not being a single weapon, but the capability for early detection, rapid response, and continuous interception against all aerial threats. And few areas reflect the transformation of the Turkish military as clearly as unmanned aerial vehicles, which have evolved from reconnaissance assets into tools of attack, surveillance, and deterrence used on a daily basis. Bayraktar TB2 is the name that completely changed perceptions of low-cost unmanned aerial vehicles, as without being overly sophisticated, the TB2 proved that a simple system with stable operation and real-time data can generate a clear battlefield impact, becoming a platform that has been widely used and exported to many countries. At a higher level, Akıncı expands the UAV role into the heavy class, capable of carrying precision-guided weapons and operating for extended durations. While before and alongside the TB2, the Anka and Anka S continue to play an important role in medium-range reconnaissance and strike missions, especially long-endurance intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance tasks. And at the lower tier, Kargu represents loitering munitions, while the RQ-20 Puma, Black Hornet, and domestically produced tactical reconnaissance UAVs push aerial observation down to the squad level. They are making Turkey one of the few countries that not only produces, but also exports UAVs proven in real combat. The Turkish Air Force does not build its strength around a few new fighter models, but instead relies on the synchronized operation of the entire system, with the backbone remaining the F-16 fleet in large numbers, supported by domestic upgrade programs that extend combat service life and carry out most air policing, precision strike, and close air support missions, while the F-4E Phantom II, though old, is still maintained in limited roles until formal retirement. And what truly makes the difference lies in the support platforms, as the E-70 airborne early warning and control aircraft acts as the brain in the sky, detecting and coordinating targets at long range. The KC-135 ensures aerial refueling and sustained presence. The A400M and C-130 keep strategic and tactical airlift chains intact. And the CN-235 intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft operate almost daily on border surveillance and counter-terrorism missions. Low profile, but critically important in peacetime, reflecting that the Turkish Air Force fights as a system rather than as individual aircraft. Mountainous terrain and counter-terrorism operations make helicopters irreplaceable, with the T-129 ATAC handling the attack role and providing direct fire support to infantry in hard-to-reach areas, while in transport and maneuver, the S-70 Black Hawk and AS-532 Cougar are true workhorses used continuously for air assault, resupply, and evacuation. The CH-47 Chinook carries out heavy lift missions, transporting artillery, equipment, and forces deep into difficult terrain. And the UH-1, although old, still appears in auxiliary roles as in mobile warfare and counterterrorism. Helicopters are the link that connects units separated by terrain. At sea, Turkey's strength is closely tied to the Mavi Vatan Doctrine, protecting national interests across a vast maritime space, with the most critical foundation being the Type 209 and Type 214 air-independent propulsion submarine force, whose quiet operations make them the most effective tools for controlling the Black Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean, creating deterrence without overt displays of power. On the surface, the Gabia, Barbaros, and Yavuz frigates handle air defense, anti-surface warfare, and task group command, while the Ada-class corvettes represent the drive toward indigenization, specializing in anti-submarine warfare and near-shore protection. The mine hunters ensure freedom of navigation, conduct mine clearance, and keep ports and strategic straits open under every conflict scenario. Alongside the main frigates, the fast attack craft assume the role of high-speed strike operations in confined waters, responding rapidly to localized escalation situations. Patrol vessels maintain a continuous presence, control sea lines of communication, and protect the exclusive economic zone in peacetime as well as during crises. And fast attack craft, mine countermeasure vessels, patrol ships, and replenishment vessels sustain continuous naval presence, complemented by the Atmaka anti-ship missile as the signature strike capability of Mavi Vatan, enabling surface targets to be engaged from standoff range, reflecting that the Turkish Navy does not seek to dominate the oceans but to tightly control vital maritime zones. Despite technological change, the soldier remains at the center of every war, with the MPT-76 and MPT-55 serving as standard rifles that reflect the push for self-reliance and individual equipment, while the G3 persists as a familiar legacy. He's supported by firepower from the MG3, EKP MT-76, and the M2.50 caliber to ensure suppression at multiple levels, while in the anti-armor role, the KA-RA-OK RPG-7 and Javelin allow infantry to effectively engage armored targets, and at the low-altitude tier, the Sungur man-portable air defense system provides self-defense against helicopters and unmanned aerial vehicles, with close-quarters battle weapons such as submachine guns and shotguns continuing to see wide use in urban combat, and the Mark 19, AK-40 grenade launcher, and 60, 81, and 120mm mortars completing unit-level indirect fire, underscoring that equipment may differ, but it is the soldier and the familiar weapons in their hands that ultimately decides the outcome on the battlefield. Turkey does not seek war, but it also does not place its security in luck. As on land, in the air, and at sea, Ankara prepares for the worst-case scenarios through tangible defensive capability and self-reliance. And if you wish to continue exploring the military power of other countries, subscribe to the channel and follow the upcoming analyses.
Wow, this is really interesting to watch, and it's also educative, because I never knew that Turkey actually has this modern military arsenal. All right, I never knew they have all of this. Okay, they have really amazing artillery and arsenal, and something actually struck my mind that I really want to say. All right, Turkey is actually currently among the leading countries in the world when it comes to electronic warfare weapons. All right, and I feel like they might not have the nuclear weapons, they might not have all the nukes readily available, all right, when it comes to like going to the front line, all of that, but the might that their people actually have and their willingness, how ready and willing they are to like face whatever it is that their country has, the might that their citizens have, it's really something that we all need to like study, because these people are ready. Even if they don't have all the weapons in place, their people, the Turks, are ready and willing to fight. And that's literally all that matters. It's not even just about having all the weapons at hand. All right, the weapons are really important, but when it comes to like readiness of their people, like every talker's ready. They are really evolving, they are really working hard, they are really putting so many things in place for their country. They are really, the amount of projects that they have at hand is really mind-blowing. And I know with time they are going to like accomplish all, they're going to tick all the boxes. All right, this is really wonderful. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comment section. All right, I would love to read from you. Thank you, and see you guys on my next one. Bye.